Although animal shelters are considered a huge help in any community, like any other job, they have problems that go along with it. As employees and volunteers of the Fayetteville Animal Shelter, I'm sure there's a couple of issues each one of you would resolve if you had the resources to. 4 years ago, I adopted my dog from this shelter, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. As fantastic and selfless of an organization as this one, there are still problems that need to be addressed. I would like to take the next 5 minutes to talk to you about how serious the issue really is. It seems like the new normal thing in animal shelters is not having enough room. I feel like this is a huge problem that a lot of people are undereducated on. According to the NWA online webpage, which was last updated in 2011, the Rogers Animal Shelter was considerably over the number of cats and dogs it could comfortably hold for a whole year. In that same year, front desk worker Shannon Rankin was quoted in an interview with the Arkansas Angle stating that the Fayetteville Animal Shelter was overcrowded and understaffed. The problem isn't just in Arkansas either. In an interview with New Mexico's KRQE News 13, animal shelter worker Dawn Glass stated that in 2011, the shelter she worked for took in about 600 transfer animals from the surrounding shelters. Just the next year in 2012, in July, they had already taken in 625, and they still had 5 months left in the year. This is a huge number difference, and it seems like that number keeps increasing with every year that goes by. Even whenever I volunteered at the Fayetteville Animal Shelter last weekend, I noticed that they had a separate cat room. It was completely full, and they had so many cats that they had to actually make what used to be the puppy room another cat room. So they moved a lot of the cats over to the other room, and it was almost completely full as well. So that's a huge problem for our community. The problem lies very clearly in front of our eyes. There are simply more owner surrenders than there are adoptions. Animal shelters are doing what they can, though, to help this issue. They're making it mandatory that any time you adopt an animal from the shelter, you have to have it spayed or neutered. And that's something that they take care of there at the shelter before you're even able to take your new pet home. They also encourage volunteering and fostering in order to help socialize the pets and make them more desirable for adoption. Unfortunately, these issues don't seem to be enough. As if overcrowding itself wasn't enough, the more pets that you cram in under one roof, the higher risk that you run of illnesses. Overcrowding in animal shelters can cause added stress to both the pets and the workers, and it can cause illnesses that could have been avoided altogether. I'm sure that there have been days where you guys go home at night worried about something from work. It's a different kind of worry and stress that I take home with me or that anybody with an office job takes home. You guys are worried about the well-being and sometimes even the life of an animal that maybe you've been working closely with and perhaps you've become attached to it. After doing a lot of research over this topic in the past week and a half, I kept seeing a reoccurring issue pop up. It's about a policy, and the policy is that whenever a new animal is taken into a shelter, the correct thing to do is to take it into your room and isolate it away from the rest of the animals until a vet can get to it and kind of determine the state of health that it's in. Unfortunately, especially in overcrowded shelters, this doesn't happen. Instead, that animal is taken and it's placed in the kennels along with all the rest of the animals that are there. And any kind of illness or disease that it brought with it is now airborne, and all the other animals are susceptible to catching that. Some of those diseases could include feline leukemia, distemper, parvo, ringworm, kennel cough, and that's just to name a few. According to a brochure printed by the Fayetteville Animal Shelter only earlier this year, the typical adoption rate for a dog is $60 and $30 for a cat. That's a small fee, and it's a lot cheaper to go ahead and have these issues done to avoid illnesses. Why not help out a shelter and yourself by getting a pet that's already vaccinated? So, as you can see, the initial idea of overcrowding in animal shelters is much smaller compared to when we begin to look at it at different angles. Although this or any animal shelter in any community is a great resource, there are still problems that go along with it that need to be addressed. Overcrowding in our shelters is a major issue that can cause stress not only to the pets, but to the animals and to the employees and volunteers, as well as cause unnecessary sickness. Lastly, I would like to thank each and every one of you guys for everything that you do here. Maybe if we all join together in the community, we can do something about this issue and see the change that we already believe in. Thank you.